To many of us that wolf management by the states and the anticipated delisting are based more on politics, for example, the hunting lobby, than on science. What is your thought on that? And we will go with Ed, Larry, and Mike.
Okay. When I first came down, I actually worked in an area of Alaska where wolves were exterminated about 1919. They were gone for 60, 70 years. I actually met Dave Meach and Rolf Peterson when they started the Kenai project because wolves naturally recolonized the Kenai Peninsula. The state closed hunting and trapping seasons. They were never listed. The population within 4 or 5 years expanded to about 200 wolves, filled all the Kenai Peninsula. They're hunted and trapped almost year-round. There's not unregulated, but very liberal defense of life and property. The wolf population still occupies all the suitable habitat on the Kenai Peninsula, and there's 150, 200 wolves. And they're much more socially accepted than some of the wolves down here. I think if you look at the model, we said from day one, the purpose of wolf recovery and wolf reintroduction was to get a viable population and delist them, turn them over to the states so they can be plugged into the management that is used to manage mountain lions, black bears, deer, elk, antelope, turkeys, a whole host of other species. Some of the most successful wildlife restoration and conservation programs in North America happen under the states and under the guidance and help and money from sportsmen. I think wolf hunting is a sign of we were really successful. Personally, I could care less about shooting a wolf, but I like to kill elk. I like to eat them. And so I think plugging it into that model is probably the best way for wolves to gain local public tolerance, for wolves to start paying their own way. And if you've ever looked at a picture of someone who's just got a wolf in Montana, all of a sudden they view that in a different light than they did before. It may be a dead wolf, but it's just the same as they help with management, they help fund it, and they're proud of that. I think that's a long-term future positive for wolves.
All right, Larry.
Well, harken back to our earlier discussion. Any decision between minimum viable and maximum sustainable is a political decision. It's a social decision. It's a social process. And I hear the allegation that the states are simply responding to social pressure and not science. But again, if you're in that range, you're managing to a social outcome. I don't hear any demands or cries that it's a political decision when we manage an ungulate population to somewhere in the lower 50% of that range between maximum sustainable and minimum viable. Oftentimes that's done for a variety of reasons to create a social acceptance of ungulate populations so that we can manage our populations in a way that provide for a variety of human uses and at the same time minimize conflicts with other uses, which could be anything from livestock operations to enhancing stands of aspen regeneration to facilitating forest management practices. But those are social, not science decisions relative to, say, an elk herd. Same application applies to wolves. The idea that automatically you cross some threshold and you're dealing with social issues is bad. We do it every day with every species we deal with, and it's our responsibility to deal with the social side as well as the science side. So I think that's sometimes driven by people's individual positions on where they want that social decision to fall on that continuum between minimum viable and maximum sustainable. I don't think it really is nearly as derogatory to a state agency to say that they involved a political social decision in their process, when in fact it's essential to everything we do, and we do it with ungulate populations all the time.
I think if you took a fair objective reading of the Endangered Species Act, you could not conclude that recovery is simply population viability. The law demands a great deal more than that. As a matter of fact, many recovery plans demand the establishment of more than one viable population. Viability is important, but there's more going on. Secondly, states do a great job managing wildlife. I couldn't agree more with Larry. They do it each and every day. And I look forward, as Ed mentioned, for state management of gray wolves. I think they'll do fine. I'm not opposed to the recreational harvest of gray wolves. Like Ed, I don't think I want to hang a hide on the wall, but I'll kill a deer and eat it, and consumption is consumption. But, folks, when you wonder about politics, life is politics. You know what prompted the United States Senate to step in and delist gray wolves in the northern Rocky Mountains? John Tester was caught up in a tough re-election bid with the lone congressman from Montana, Denny Reber. President Harry Reid's looking at losing yet another Democrat and seeing his majority dwindle even more. Tester's a friend of the president. They were rookie senators together. And the Democratic caucus in the U.S. Senate said, we can't let John lose. And he said, if I can be the hero in Montana by being differentially involved in delisting gray wolves, that will help me. I'm walking down Main Street in Bozeman at the homecoming day parade, and Senator Tester said, Mike, what do you think of this? And I said, Senator, it's a slippery slope to step on, having the United States Senate start delisting under the Endangered Species Act. But in this case, biologically, you're fine. And I think you can navigate that slippery slope, and we need you reelected. So go ahead. It was all about politics. Life is politics. And I think the states do a heck of a job day in and day out managing the tension that exists between competing interests that express themselves politically.